Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing our conversation with Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones, let's talk about COVID-19 again and how that is affecting the admissions process. How is it?
Yeah, in some ways, this is the admissions process being disrupted and in some cases being revolutionized is a bright spot of this whole entire crisis. For too long, families, educators, activists, experts have called on higher ed institutions to stop over-relying on standardized tests such as the SAT and ACT to make admissions decisions because of the impact on Black students as well as low-income students and other students of color. And right now they're forced to. In fact, many colleges, and most recently Harvard just this week, have announced that they are going to at least be test optional, which means students can apply without and not be penalized for not submitting SAT or ACT test scores. This is a step perhaps in the right direction. What's most important is what colleges do instead and make sure the other criteria they're looking at don't disadvantage Black students. But this is an important moment and it's really exciting to see. We'll be keeping a close watch on what the impact will be. In terms of the process overall, also keeping in mind that timelines and fees and actually making commitments to institutions, a lot of those things have been moved around and are much more flexible than they've been in the past as a result of all of the changes.
Dr. Jones, with states cutting budgets, how will that affect how much student loan debt students incur? And as you write in your article, the Black tax is key to understanding and solving the Black student debt crisis in the time of COVID and beyond. Can you explain that?
Well, the last time around when there were huge state cuts, that resulted in colleges increasing their tuition prices and students borrowed loans to be able to fill those gaps because they also didn't have extra dollars during that time of a recession, and which contributed to the student debt crisis that we see today. That has a specific impact on Black students who are more likely to borrow. They borrow more and they face greater difficulty repaying their loans than their white peers. Some of that has to do with things outside of higher education, like the racial wealth gap and the likelihood that their families don't have additional resources to help them be able to repay those loans. They also face discrimination in the job market, which can impact their ability to find jobs, to get adequate pay, be promoted, et cetera, which can also impact their ability to repay. And it's most telling because the highest income Black students still struggle. This is not just a problem of low income Black families. 1 in 3 from the highest income families end up defaulting on their student loans. That's worst case scenario. It can, defaulting means you've missed payments for over 270 days. It means that your credit is ruined. It means you will have trouble, buying a car or a home. And so again, I'm very concerned that this time around during this current economic crisis, this can happen again if policymakers don't intervene. So far, there's some good news. Congress did temporarily relieve students from having to be penalized for not making payments during the crisis. That's great, but it was a temporary fix to a long-term problem that started well before COVID-19. And so our hope is that they'll not only address debt right now, but make sure it never happens in the future. That means thinking about how to forgive at least a portion of students' debt permanently, and also investing in helping students pay up front so they don't have to borrow in the first place. Okay,
so let's talk about policymakers and what we should be demanding from lawmakers right now.
Yes. So access to higher education opportunities should most definitely be on the list of things that if folks want to improve the lives of Black people, it's something that we've been denied and are entitled to. There are organizations that have included these things in their list of demands. For example, the Movement for Black Lives, if you look at their policy platform, they call for free college or debt forgiveness. And so it's just one example of, organizers already making these calls known. I hope these conversations become even more prominent as the conversation focuses on what are the types of investments that will help uplift and improve the lives of Black people, and access to higher education is definitely one.
Dr. Jones, can you tell us about a national survey that the Education Trust is conducting right now and how we can be involved?
Absolutely. So the Education Trust, we're aiming to learn more about the experiences of Black people who borrow student debt, what their challenges are, how it's perhaps made their lives more difficult or even better. And we're looking for Black people who borrow student loans, whether you're currently in school, whether you've graduated or even dropped out. We encourage you to participate in both sign up for our survey and perhaps to even be interviewed. To learn more, you can go to educationtrust.com/Black student debt to learn more.
I appreciate you for helping shed light on what Black students and their families need to understand in terms of when it comes to higher education, especially as things just keep on changing. So again, thank you for your time.